Hey, this is Brian King. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks for being you. Today, I have a woman with a fascinating story. Her name is Dana Pharant, and I'll let her talk a little bit more about what her current job is. But as you know, the focus of this show is to really celebrate the square pegs that are making a difference and being successful in a round hole world. And Dana has a story that I have yet to hear. And we didn't even have to talk before we scheduled this, because just when she told me what her story was, I just said, oh my God, I've got to hear this, and we've got to share it because it's so unconventional. So without further ado, I want to welcome Dana Pharant.
Oh, thanks, Brian. I am delighted to be on your show. This is fabulous. And I love your format. You know, it totally works for me when people, it's a real conversation. And, you know, it's two people getting to know each other, really connecting. So
connection is what I live for. And just so you know, we may have some parakeet sounds. We may have some puppies chiming in the background because why? Life happens. And we just go with the flow because that's what life needs us to do. Now, the compelling aspect of Dana's story that really caught my interest was that there was a period in her life where she found herself in the role of a dominatrix.
Yes.
And you are the first person I've known that was ever in that position, so I can check that off my bucket list.
There we go.
But if you would, can you explain to us how you found your way into that role?
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to back this story up quite a ways. And so I started out as a massage therapist many, many years ago. And one of my clients came in and she disclosed that she was involved in the kink, because she wanted me to know that, you know, if I saw bruises or marks or whatever, that she could then share openly about what that was from, and not for me to worry that she was being abused. And what happened is that over the years, I was like really intrigued. I was like, what is it? And fortunately, she was this lovely woman who was so kind about sharing openly. And so I'd ask her questions each time she'd come in, and we'd talk a little bit more, and she'd bring me books. And I was just intrigued. But at that time, I was with a partner that it just was not going to work. We actually tried, and it just was really bad. So 2006, when I finally left this particular partner, I was free. I was free to go and explore. And the first thing I did was I phoned my friend. This is now my friend, my client. And I said, okay, we can go. I can go to a party now. And I had every intention that I was just going to observe. I was just going to check it out. So here I am at my first play party, right? This is what we call them in the industry. And I'm there, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to check it out. And I'm meeting some people, and they're like, okay, well, we're going to keep an eye on you, make sure that you're good, that you're safe, which is awesome. And next thing I know, I'm sitting there and I've got a pair of handcuffs on. It's like somebody goes by and goes, just observing, I see, right? And so this is like, I like dive head first, right? Just dive right in. And I'm getting to a point here, but the point is that process, I started to explore the submissive side first. And I was playing with some really awesome people. And what I discovered was that it was a way for me to unravel all the years of abuse in my body. It actually moved things in a way that I hadn't been able to get through talk therapy. And it transformed me. And so when I got to this space of actually unraveling what was going on for me and all the abuse and stuff, then I became interested in exploring the top side of it, the dominatrix. So then I started to find partners to play with where I was exploring that piece. And I also reached out to other dominatrixes and, you know, kind of found some people to mentor me and to learn from. And, you know, I would sit in their company and watch them and pick up what they were doing and get the nuances of it and really embracing it for myself. So it was very much a journey of personal exploration, personal growth. And from both sides of that world, it was tremendous healing. And who I had to become as a dominatrix was it was really challenged me. Like, you really have to step way outside your comfort zone. Even if this is something that you're extremely interested in, it challenges all your beliefs and your preconceptions and all that. So from there, it morphed into the business side of it, which we'll talk about in a minute. But
it's definitely an outside the box way of relating to each other. You know,
yes.
this isn't stuff, because I have a master's degree in social work, and this isn't something that came up in attachment and, you know, bonding between the mother and child and a healthy relationship. But just the way you described it, and from what little I know about it, trust is a huge aspect of it.
Oh yeah.
And
Massive.
when you've gone through a lot of abuse where you were not in control of what was done to your body, now you're in a position like either a dominatrix or a submissive where you have a lot of say in what happens to you.
Yeah.
And I can absolutely see where that would be therapeutic, because you're taking your power back.
Huge.
That's really awesome. So how long did you do that? Or do you still do that?
So it is, I do own the title former dominatrix. At this point, my toys are locked up in the toy box. I don't have the heart to sell them or get rid of them. So there's probably still some niggling there. But from 2006 to 2012, I was very heavily involved. Went to every party that I could get my hands on, and, you know, and played extensively with people. So I was very...
I want to see what happens to that box of toys in your will. There's going to be some lucky descendant of yours.
Yeah. That'd be interesting to pick who would, I should think about that. Who gets the toys?
Who is not going to fight in court over the handcuffs? We just can't have that. But I honestly, I think of that also as something very brave.
Mm-hmm.
Because to allow yourself to be that vulnerable and explore things in that way, and to trust yourself to go in there and say, I can do this. I'm willing to take this kind of a risk. And I never thought of it as being therapeutic, but the way you describe it, it almost seems obvious.
Yeah.
You know, why wouldn't it be helpful to do this? So now that you are former, how did you parlay your own personal discoveries into what you're currently doing?
Okay, so that's a really cool story too, is that, so 2012, so I'm just getting out of the kink world. And at the same time, I have this big business, you know, we're just shy of $1 million in sales. And I've got 6 staff and all this stuff is going on. But my manager comes to me and says, okay, we're bleeding, we're hemorrhaging like crazy, and something's got to be done. So we'd put a plan in place to kind of restructure and turn things around, but then life had another plan for us. So, you know, everything that could go wrong did go wrong in 30 days, and we ended up running into a bankruptcy. In fact, I was almost about to do a midnight run with it. I was planning on it. And all of my clients were like, no, you can't, like, where am I supposed to get my stuff? This isn't, like, oh my God. So instead of pulling the plug, I restructured it. And it was in that transition that I really got to see how the skills of the dominatrix was completely transferable into the business. So I hadn't been stepping into that dominatrix role. I hadn't been the leader, and I hired people that were just not the right fit. And so, you know, if you're not the right fit, you're going to make mistakes. And they made some really costly mistakes, and I made some costly mistakes. And with all of that, we had a mountain of debt. But in stepping into that space of the dominatrix, the energy of the dominatrix, you know, not that I was beating my clients when they came in, but
although you were tempted to, right?
There were some.
Your employees, you really wanted to, I bet.
It was more the customers. They were the pains in the ass. Like, really. We fired some of those. But when I stepped into that energy, when I said, okay, I'm doing this in a way that is fun and makes me money, or I'm not fucking doing it. Sorry, I forgot to ask if I swear.
Oh, no, we're okay, human beings here, right?
Excellent. So, you know, I played over the next couple of years as I was transitioning all this stuff, that when I would step in and I would own it, then sales would go up and customers would call up and, okay, you got to think, like, I've got a bricks and mortar store where I'm selling physical goods, and people don't have store hours anymore. They were used to store hours. So they're calling to say, are you open? Are you there? Do you need anything? Can I bring you a coffee? Right? Like, this is when I turn that energy on, that's what I got. If I let that energy slide or I turned it off, sales would drop. Customers would start whining again. I'm like, wow, I just needed to be bitchy to you people. Like, if that's what it was.
Go figure. That, I mean,
Yeah.
considering what they were coming and buying from you, it makes sense that that approach would resonate with them.
Yeah. Well, no, they were buying massage supplies.
Oh,
Yeah. It was not,
interesting.
it wasn't
So,
kink related.
so in your mind, what was the connection? What was it about being a little bit bitchier that led to an improvement in the way things were going?
When you stand in your power, there's an energy that comes off that people pick up subtly. They just pick that up of like, okay, she means business. She's serious about what she's doing, and she's not going to take any guff. And I really stood in the energy of like, you know what? I have fired other customers. You don't want to be the next. Without it being a, you know, kind of bitchiness, but just I'm more than willing to lose you. So up to you. You can be bitchy to me and I can tell you where to go, or we can be nice and we can all get along. Without verbally saying that, it seemed to come across when I just stood in that power. They got it.
So it's pretty much an I got this.
Even different than that, because you notice like in your body, when you go, I got this, right? There's a bit of a macho, right? Like pounding your chest kind of thing. But the dominatrix energy is so different this is the way I see it anyway. So here's the scenario. If me at 5'6", just under, you know, if I've got some, you know, 6'4" guy who's a big, burly, you know, football player size, I am not going to physically overpower him. I can't take him down physically. That's not going to happen. So I need to change who I am to make it so that he understands that I'm the one in charge. I'm the one calling the shots. And I expect him to comply. Right? So it's soft, it's feminine, but it's strong at the same time.
I already feel myself buckling in over here.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a certainty about approaching things in that way.
Yeah.
And when you have certainty, you exude confidence.
Yes.
And I can definitely see that the people would respond to that. This is a woman who knows her stuff.
Right. And it's magnetic. People love that kind of, you know, when it is authentic, when you're authentically confident about what you're doing and who you are, people are just like magnetized.
Yeah, especially in a world of increasing uncertainty.
Yes.
Having people that are confident to be there to guide you and support you, it's got to be golden to people.
Yeah.
So that was when you were selling massage supplies. Are you still doing that, or is it something new?
No, I actually sold that business. I finally sold it December 2016. Woo!
Is that Freedom Day?
I'm free. Yes, it really was a freedom day because it was never totally my passion. I did it. And for a long time, it was one of those golden handcuffs. You know, we had the money coming in. I didn't want to risk walking away from it to go into something uncertain. And it took me a few years to really get on my feet with this dominatrix theme. Like, as you can imagine, you know, it's like, it sounds really sexy. And, you know, in 5 years, people are going to be like, oh my God, that's brilliant. Like, it's so unique. It's so different. And you get so much PR from it. But in the early stages, when you're just venturing out and other people are like, what? You know, you're doing what?
Well, yeah. And if they have all of those preconceived notions about what it really means, they're probably not very positive ideas.
No. And, you know, in the early days. So I remember walking into a women's networking meeting. And so you got to picture this. So we're, you know, downtown Toronto, and right across the road from like the major Bay Street section, so the lawyer district, what they call. So we're in this networking meeting. This is women, you know, they got solopreneurs mostly. And I say to this woman, I like, you know, I help people step into their power, and I bring the energy of the dominatrix. My past is a dominatrix, and she literally took a step back, had this kind of look on her face, and she's like, I'm really happy with my husband. I'm like thinking, if I'm looking for clients, I'm probably going to go across the road where there's lawyers that have money.
And also control issues.
Yeah. So it's just kind of interesting, you know, those early days where it's, you know, I wasn't totally solid with it yet. and comfortable. I mean, I still have people that are quite challenged by it, but I'm much more comfortable with knowing that I know I walk into a room, I tell people what I do, and I get like a parting of the Red Seas. You get the people who love me over here and the people who are like, whoa, scared.
People that are skilled and the people that get out their notebooks.
Right.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but it's also very efficient.
It is.
Because you want to get rid of those people that clearly this is not within their scope.
Right. Yeah. If the fact that I used to be a dominatrix freaks you out, you are probably not my target market.
No, because if I'd met you face to face, we're going to order a pizza and we're going to sit there and I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I mean, just not because I want to duplicate your life experience, but just because I'm fascinated by those different ways of thinking.
Yeah.
And approaching human problems. Fascinating stuff, Dana. So what do you do now? You help people get into their power.
Yeah. Do
you say to them, I'm going to help you find your inner dominatrix, or do you call it something else?
No, that's the languaging that I really embrace now is even the website is innerdominatrix.com. So it's
there you go.
I know.
If you don't get it from that,
right,
you probably need to have your head examined.
Probably.
And what kind of people find their way to you?
I work a lot with people who have who are typically already successful. So, they have that mindset. They're looking to go, 7 figures kind of thing. They, whether they are actually going to bring in that kind of money or not, but there's a mindset that goes with that kind of big thinking.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that kind of mindset. And also typically, because I work predominantly with energy tools, I have a lot of people who have, they've already done a lot of internal work. They've done their processing. They've done energy work before, and they're looking for that next level. They're looking for something that's really going to, just bump it up a whole notch. So.
I can see that because there are so many blocks in us.
Mm-hmm.
Body memory from physical trauma, emotional blocks from things that happened as a child or things that happened in a poor relationship, blocks around money. Because I have a money coach right now, and it's amazing the things that she's been able to tap into about all these blocks that I've carried that I just kind of accepted as part of honoring my family, that things have to be done a certain way. So doing that energy work is so powerful for people. And what kind of results have you seen with your clients?
Oh, it's been such a joy because I see people, like some people, they come in and they're really in that loop of problems. Like, how the people, they come in, they're like, they're running the loop,
I can't, right? But you don't understand. I've tried that before.
Right. Yeah. You got it. So to take them from that, and within a month or 2, we get them completely out of that mindset of that they have any problems. And then we start moving them into expanding their potential and really getting it ramped up into stepping into their power, showing up in a big way, starting to really grasp that idea that that most of what they feel in their body, like their thoughts and feelings and emotions, most of that is just what they're picking up on from everybody else. And so really detangling from that, intertwinement with everybody else, and connecting back in with that power of who they really are. Like, I see people who are absolutely brilliant, and when they start, they're not owning it. And at the end, oh my God, they're like flying with things.
One thing that I teach my clients is really cool, is I teach them to walk into a room already having decided what experience they're going to create.
Nice.
Not going in there saying, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder if people are going to like me. You are walking into that space to provide the privilege of being seen.
Yes.
To help other people feel like they matter. And that's the experience you're going to create. And you will naturally be drawn to people, and you'll say, I want to see you.
Yeah.
And you'll walk up to them and you'll shake their hand and look them in the eye and ask them their name and say, tell me about what you do. Because you're automatically interested. And when you walk into the room, it's just like a beam of light that goes out. And that was one of the things that I discovered to get past my shyness in groups. I mean, my shyness in groups kept me from even showing up, let alone going in the room.
Yeah.
But once I figured out that little trick, not only was I more confident, I was more charismatic. People wanted to come to me. And I made a lot of connections really fast. So just those little tweaks can be absolutely paradigm shifting.
It is awesome. And what you're doing in that is you're shifting the energy of how you're showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it, right? It is stepping into that power. So
you're up in Canada.
I am.
I imagine that you work with people the same way I do, virtually, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, is the best way for people to find you that unforgettable domain name?
Yeah, that's probably a great start, the innerdominatrix.com. If people love Facebook, then you're welcome to reach out to me on Facebook or join the Facebook group, which is Access Your Inner Dominatrix.
Oh, guess where I'm going next?
Awesome.
Because Facebook is where you and I met.
Yes.
And it was just through a discussion thread, and Dana shared what she did, and I probably responded with some variation of, I want to talk to you.
Yes.
And here we are. And this has been an absolutely fantastic conversation, Dana. I knew that my mind was going to be open and I was going to be educated, and that's exactly what I got. And I have no doubt that the listeners have the same experience. You're a delightful person. You're an innovative person, and I just love what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Brian. This has been a delight for me too. You are awesome.
So anybody who wants to track down Dana, go to innerdominatrix.com or go to Access the Dominatrix group on Facebook. Yes?
Yes.
And once again, thank you for tuning in. I honor you, and I am privileged that you took some time out of your day to tune in. And thanks for being you.
Thanks, Brian.